8 or 9 senators, and there were names: Senator Robin Padilla, Christopher Bongo, Ramon Bong Revilla Jr., Ronald Bato de la Rosa, Lito Lapid, Francis Tolentino, and Cynthia Villar. They are putting us in a bad light.
Pangit po. 24 lang tayo dito na senador at hindi pa natin mapagkatiwalaan ang isa't isa natin, Mr. President. This is not a laughing matter. This is serious. Ikulong natin yan.
This is a violation of our rules.
Any senator who violates the provisions contained in the preceding section may, by a 2/3 vote of all the senators, be expelled from the Senate.
Mr. President, yesterday we had an all senators caucus and we discussed lengthily the budget of the Republic of the Philippines. And just before we entered this august chamber, much to my dismay and much to our dismay, there was a news report that identified 8 or 9 senators, and there were names on that list. 8 or 9 senators who wanted to restore the confidential and intelligence fund of the Vice President and the Department of Education. And I wish to tell the people of the Philippines that there was no votation that happened yesterday with regard to the intelligence fund of the Vice President and the Department of Education. In fact, we had an executive session. And I do not know who of our colleagues who scooped or leaked our conversation to this media outlet. I have been a senator here for more than 10 years. And this is the first time that I encountered a scoop or a leakage. I do not know. I do not want to name names. This is a violation of our rules. And the majority floor leader will expound it later. Mr. President, we discussed lengthily for almost 2 hours the schedule, etc., of the budget of the Republic of the Philippines. We never touched or we never voted with regard to all the intelligence fund or confidential fund. In fact, we agreed unanimously to remove all the confidential and intelligence fund, not only that of the Office of the Vice President, including not only that of the Department of Education, but all security or civilian agencies na merong confidential and intelligence fund. Mr. President, nawala. I will just read. Sino mga pangalan? First on the list, Senator Robin Padilla, Christopher Bongo, Ramon Bong Revilla Jr., Ronald Bato de la Rosa, Jinggoy Estrada, Lito Lapid, Francis Tolentino, and Cynthia Villar. They are putting us in a bad light, and I condemn this. And I take offense on this. Nakalagay pa, Senator Pia Cayetano is said to be supportive of reinstating Duterte's confidential funds if she can justify the need for them. This is not true. And I hope Senator Pia Cayetano will agree with me. Just for a while, Mr. President, hinahanap pa ni Senator Robin yung mga nakasulat. Mahina raw yung wifi.
Ano ba tayo dito? Converge, PLDT, Secretary, DICT. Naku.
Mr. President,
Please proceed.
thank you, Mr. President. And if I may quote, Anis Cooper told this media outlet that Senators Sani Angara, Francis Escudero, Rafi Tulfo, Aquilino Pimentel III, and Risa Hontiveros are allegedly against the reinstatement of Duterte's secret allocation, which are lodged under the Office of the Vice President and the Department of Education. Mali-mali po itong report, Mr. President. And I think Senator Angara must not be included in this list. And among the offices, Duterte's allocation was part of the 1.2 billion in confidential funds that the House realigned to agencies focused on the West Philippine Sea. Mr. President, tumayo po ako rito dahil masamang-masama po ang loob ko. I really felt insulted. And I think my other colleagues here also felt the same way, Mr. President. And Mr. President, I stand before you and I want to make this recommendation, maybe to talk to this media outlet or to summon this media outlet and ask them who among us violated our rules, who among us leaked what transpired in our executive session yesterday. That's all, Mr. President.
I am very alarmed. As a matter of fact, that's why we were late. I usually try to start at 3 p.m. We had a meeting with the leadership, Senator Joel Villanueva and Senator Lauren Legarda. We met because of the implications of leakages during executive session. The executive department and very sensitive agencies of government may no longer divulge information to the executive session if they know somebody might leak it. That's why I take this very strongly, and I make sure, and I told the majority floor leader that I even called up Senator Nancy Binay, because she is the head of the ethics committee, that we have to send a very strong signal that this shall not happen again.
The facts contained in the article, Mr. President, Your Honor, is not a leak. Tsismis yun. So there is no leak to speak of really with respect to what truly transpired in the executive session. An attempt perhaps to create a story about it, but I confirm the statement of the good Senate President and the Senator Jinggoy that it was the unanimous position of the House, what Senator Angara will be sponsoring today and the other vice chairpersons. That was the unanimous position of the Senate and all the members of the Senate.
Thank you, Senator Escudero.
I would just like to put into the record of this chamber, Mr. President, what our rules say about executive session. What's this? Rule on section 126 of our rules, Mr. President. Mr. President, section 129 of our rules, Mr. President, it states here, and I quote, any senator who violates the provisions contained in the preceding section may, by a two-thirds vote of all the senators, be expelled from the Senate. And if the violator is an official or employee of the Senate, he shall be dismissed.
The President, as well as the senators and officials and employees of the Senate, shall absolutely refrain from divulging any of the confidential matters taken up by the Senate, and all proceedings which might have taken place in the Senate in connection with the said matters shall be likewise considered as strictly confidential until the Senate, by two-thirds vote of all its members, decides to lift the ban of secrecy.
Thank
So
you,
ganun
Mr. President.
katindi yung
Very
rules
clear.
natin.
Very clear, Mr. President.
Yeah.
Crystal clear, Mr. President. Mr. President, Senator Jinggoy is seeking the floor. Move that he
Yes,
be
Senator
recognized.
Estrada.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to associate myself with the comments made by the Majority Leader. Kahit tsismis yan or gossip yan, walang problema sa akin yan. Ang problema, bakit or paano lumabas sa isang media outlet yung mga nag-transpire sa ating usapin kahapon.
Yes.
That is For me, that is the most important thing.
Number one, Mr. President, it creates distrust from among us 24 senators. Ibig sabihin, the next time around that we are going to have our caucus or executive session, hindi na ako basta-basta magsasalita. Baka mamaya, meron na naman maglilik sa media. So pangit po, 24 lang tayo dito na senador at hindi pa natin mapagkatiwalaan ang isa't isa natin, Mr. President. Number two, it tarnished the image of the Senate. 24 lang tayong hinalal ng buong Pilipinas at hindi pa natin mapagkatiwalaan ang isa sa atin na pwedeng nag-leak. If indeed, it was leaked by any member of the Senate. Kung ang nag-leak naman noon ay empleyado na nandoon sa loob, well, as a police officer, former police officer, Mr. President, I can vividly recall kung sinong nandoon sa loob. 2 staff ni Senator Angara. Mavic,
Oh, Attorney Mavic.
Attorney Mavic. At may isang kasama si Attorney Mavic na babae. So, 4 silang nalaman ko na nandoon sa loob. Magprangkahan tayo dito. Dapat we have to made into account yung tao na responsable dito. Hindi lang na magsisente ng stern warning sa kanila, kundi the damage has been done. Lumabas na yung balita niya, nasira na kung sinong dapat masira, but I don't care kung masira ang reputasyon ko. Ang sa akin lang, ma-preserve yung ating reputasyon sa Senate. Hindi po maganda yung hindi tayo magkakatiwalaan dito. 24 lang tayo, Mr. President.
And the waiter staff, huwag mo kalimutan yung mga staff sa likod. Yung mga waiter din, yung nandun din sila.
Isama natin sa investigasyon
Isama
niya,
natin
Mr.
sila.
President.
So if the chamber wishes, I can ask Senator Nancy Binay, who is the chairperson of the Committee on Ethics, to look into this closely, if it is all right with the body.
Yes, I support, Mr. President, I support the call of Senator Jinggoy Estrada that yung source nitong news na ito, if it is a politiscope, he has to be called before a hearing para malaman natin kung sinong source niya. At kung hindi siya magsabi ng totoo, I will be the first one to move for the citing in contempt of that media personnel, Mr. President. Ikulong natin yan kung ayaw magsabi ng totoo. Mr. President, this is not a laughing matter. This is serious. Filipino people are watching us right now. Sabihin nila, ganyan na pala Senado ngayon, hindi ba pagkatiwalaan? Sila lang nag-uusap, maglilik pa doon sa media. It's very dangerous, Mr. President. Very dangerous. Masyadong akong dismayado. Thank you, Mr. President.
We agree with the gentleman from Davao, and that's why after these proceedings, I will ask Senator Nancy Binay, Chair of the Committee on Ethics, to investigate the matter.
Yes, Mr. President.
After Senator, yes.
Mr. President.
May I move that the Senate Committee on Ethics conduct a hearing and invite the source of the news, Mr. President, so that everything will be cleared out.
Bakit kayo may executive session? Bakit kayo may tinatago? Wala akong tinatago. Nagdidiskusyon ng maayos para bang magulang. Let's say, for example, na wala itong nangyaring ganito sisermo na ni Senate President o kaya ni Senate President Pro Temp ako, sisermo na nila ako. They will do that in private. In the executive session, ay Pia, di mo na intindihan. So gagawin namin yun in private para pagdating to sa public, ganun ba? O sige, tatanungin ko na lang in public o kaya di ko na tatanungin dahil naipaliwanag nyo na. That's the reason among many other reasons kung bakit may executive session. I just wanted to explain that dahil ang puntos nito is bakit may executive session at bakit may mabigat na kaparusahan. Wala tayong tinatago. But the reason for the rules is because it is meant to be followed. It is not meant to be violated. So kung may nag-violate, magkaroon ng tamang due process, magkaroon ng hearing, magkaroon ng opportunity to explain, and then the proper penalty must be meted out. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you very much, Senator Cayetano.
Leaks like this will hamper, will destroy our credibility, destroy our integrity, And it will now prevent the security agencies to give us the truth, because they will have doubts in their minds whether the truth or whether information will be kept safe in the halls of the Senate. So, Mr. President, I would like to associate myself with the motion of Senator Bato that this should be looked at and investigated seriously, because it's the Senate's credibility on the line, especially whenever departments request for executive sessions and whenever they divulge to us matters of national security. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you.